Well, it's getting close to time for Palantir's earnings, and with the market in chaos after DeepSeek and all the controversy there and conflicting data all over the place, Palantir's earnings are critical to see where Alex and the team see the stock over the next year. I mean, we got to get down to the bottom of what's going to happen on these earnings and what the stock will do if Alex bangs the table again or something crazy like that. But guys, in all seriousness, that's just my favorite thing that's ever happened that, YouTube had a freak out on. I don't know why, don't ask me. But anyways, back on topic here. With Palantir having a massive run up in 2024, almost doubling just since with the last earnings. I mean, it's been a great run. We are clearly into overvalued territory right now, despite what others may say, but that could quickly change with this earnings call, depending upon what's said on it. So let's talk about exactly what I see happening, the 4 things that I'm kind of watching for specifically, and I'll give you my exact plan through it all. I just ask in exchange for you to gently tap that like button. That's right, guys, we're going to tap it this time, and consider subscribing too. It's super easy to do if you like the truth without the hype. All right, so earnings season is usually wild and doesn't make a lot of sense, and that's just kind of how it goes, and it's kind of held true once again this earnings season so far. It's why I personally just buy according to my plan, and I avoid all the craziness around earnings because the stock is never more manipulated than it is around earnings. You have to understand that. That is key. That's why I don't play games around earnings at all. Which actually we've been discussing earnings daily. We've been jumping on like Tesla's earnings call, for example. And we're going to listen to Palantir's earnings call in real time coming up, basically kind of breaking it down and letting you guys know what I think, what institutional buyers are thinking, what is Alex trying to signal with a lot of what he says. That's kind of what we do. And if you want access to that, make sure you take advantage of the earnings flash sale and grab your spot before that flash sale is ending, because it's ending very soon. But we'll talk about that more at the end, everything you get with the group and everything else. Let's get back on track here with Palantir stock, because honestly, Palantir stock is just different from most other stocks in the stock market. I mean, there's this constant battle on this stock. I mean, is it a future $1 trillion company over here? Or is it just trash and another stock destined to be bankrupt in a few years? I mean, that kind of seems what everybody kind of says. I mean, people see it as another stock that Wall Street is late to once again, right? They've been late to a lot of things over the years. Or it's just complete overhyped garbage and doomed to fail, like some of the other retail favorite stocks that we've all gotten involved with as well. It's kind of like Tesla is still to this day. I mean, I don't think it's as extreme on the bull or the bear side either. I mean, there is no stock that's as extreme as Tesla is on both those sides. But Palantir clearly falls into the kind of I get it category and it's going to be big one day, or I don't get it at all and it's overpriced hype, like so many stocks that have been popular on YouTube over the last few years. And unfortunately, I think Palantir's earnings will once again give both sides more talking points that will bolster their positions, which mean it's going to essentially remain extremely divided for now. But, comment down below and let me know where you stand on the stock. I mean, is it a future $1 trillion company, maybe $500 billion company? Or is it just basically trash and it's going to basically go nowhere, even be bankrupt one day? Let me know down in the comments. Now for this earnings, I think Palantir has a small beat on revenue, and I think it actually does speed up a pretty good EPS number as well. And of course, more importantly than all that, I believe they increase free cash flow once again. And that right there is key for me, especially when I'm looking at Palantir. And for those of you guys that don't kind of understand the structure and how they kind of do their accounting, how they report and all the other intricacies of their actual financials, free cash flow is the number to watch the most based upon how they do their accounting. That's right. It's the free cash flow number, guys. That's kind of what tipped me off a long time ago that Palantir is going to be great. It also let me know that they were extremely overvalued, back in 2021 as well. But it was kind of one of the things that I kind of knew, hey, I know that they're not really showing any net income. They're actually showing negative net income. Obviously, they were losing money, but yet free cash flow was kind of the tip off that, hey, wait a second, they're going to do something a little bit different there. Let me kind of dive into it and kind of see what's going on. And that's kind of what tipped me off so early that, hey, Palantir at $6-7 was an absolute steal deal of the century. That's definitely what it felt like whenever you look there. So that's kind of what I focus on when I'm looking at their numbers. But here are the 4 things that I'm watching for in this earnings call for Palantir. The first is guidance on new contracts. They had several new contracts that were announced this quarter, and once again, the lag in government contract payouts, which is normal for the government, I know, shocking, I know, is also going to affect the bottom line. But like they do every single quarter, they have large contracts coming in. Just it seems like every day somebody's posting in my group a new contract that Palantir got, either from the government, from private sector, all over the world, doesn't matter. Seems like there's a new one every single day. And we also had several large contracts renewed, which proves that the business model once again is sticky. I think we all knew that, but you continue to see these contracts continue to renew. showing you, hey, this stuff is sticky. And at this stage, I think it's going to be very hard for customers that are already using Palantir, especially the government, to switch vendors and use somebody else. And guys, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole once again. And don't get me started on the whole commercial versus government side of the business. I have no idea what the mix will be. I don't care either, if I'm being perfectly honest. Literally, every single earnings call, there are complaints about that. I mean, government grows and, we'd like to see more commercial growth, or some folks down in the comment section are worried about the commercial growth. And then, of course, then the commercial growth grows. And well, now we see the government isn't growing at the same pace. So now that's a problem. I mean, that's it. And it's kind of the same exact way on Wall Street, on YouTube, comment section, everywhere. It's kind of the feeling that kind of happens a lot of times with Palantir in regards to commercial versus the government growth. I mean, basically, cure cancer. And I'm sure there's going to be somebody out there with a problem with that. To me, as long as they guide to more growth in the number of contracts, I'm not going to put too much stock into whether it's commercial or government or whatever the case is. I want growth overall. That's the bottom line. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not worried about what the mix is or anything else like that. The second thing I'm looking for is the overall growth rate for 2025. This is one thing that I can say in the past is a fair complaint from the bears in regards to Palantir. Although the growth rate has been good, Palantir has had a decent growth rate. It hasn't not been great. And so far, it is getting there. We're definitely moving in the right direction now, but it has not lived up to the numbers that Alex has put out there in the past. It's kind of like we kind of were at that number, kind of dipped down, got way down. And then, of course, it's kind of started its trajectory back up yet, but we still aren't quite to that number that Alex said. Although he kind of hinted around, we might very well see that this year. We'll get to that point here in just a second. But if we get closer to that 20% number or so, that won't move the stock any, and it's probably going to send the stock down. Instead, we need to be closer to that 30% number that Alex discussed earlier, and basically kind of set the expectation right there. Of course, anything above that is great. So that guidance is going to be key if Wall Street stays behind the stock like they have been, or if it comes in lower than expected, if that gives them a reason to take some profits and basically move on to something else, especially with all the other AI mess that's going on. They're looking for reasons to sell. That's the bottom line. Third thing I'm looking for is guidance on share buybacks. Now, this one's kind of gone quiet for a little while there, and that's okay. But I know Wall Street likes share buybacks overall. And Palantir already has the authorization to do it. So the question becomes, if they're planning to do some buybacks this year, and why or why not, I can make a case for both. So I'm not necessarily saying one is good and one is bad or anything else, because there are goods and bads with buybacks. So regardless of the answer, the explanation will kind of tip the hand as to where Palantir think we're going over the next year or two, and kind of how they want to execute and how they want to run the business over the next year or two. So kind of keep that in mind there. It's not necessarily good or bad. It's the reason why they're choosing yes or no on the buybacks. So let me kind of give you guys a quick example here. If they say something like, yes, we are buying back this year because we feel as though the share price is going to be cheap in a year's time, which at the level we're at right now, man, that's a heck of a run. I'm not sure that would necessarily be the case, but just for the example there, they say that, then they expect big numbers even if they don't guide to it. And they could also say no to buybacks, but it's because they feel like I make a lot more money putting that money to work in other opportunities instead. And that to me would probably be, if I had to guess, that would be my guess of what one of those two is going to happen there, because that would be a bullish sign from management, in my opinion. So I will be listening for that and see what clues they can glean kind of from those answers that they give us. And the final thing I'm looking at is the overall 2025 guidance. All right, look, guys, when we're looking at the first earnings call of the year, basically we're looking at fourth quarters, and that guidance for the next year is the key to everything for most of your companies. So basically for Palantir, if they guide to higher than Wall Street expects, that may be enough to keep the momentum going, or at least allow us to kind of consolidate, kind of a band right here at these levels that we're at there. And of course, it could absolutely help out the valuation depending upon how high that they guide. Alex is typically conservative, so if they guide high, that could be really game-changing to me and really kind of signaling something that there's actually more going on than we think in the background there. I'm not talking about what the pumpers are talking about or anything else like that. I'm talking about something solid from management there. Now, if we come in line or even just a little bit lower than expected, then there will be no doubt that we will be overvalued into 2025 at these levels. So that may give the traders a reason to sell off the stock completely. And even longs like myself, I may not be as interested in buying unless we get a significant dip, which, guys, don't put it past Wall Street to do something like that. But it would take a significant dip to get me interested in buying Palantir stock at its current level if we don't get really, really good guidance for next year. I'm not trying to be bearish or anything else like that. It's just the reality of when a stock has this kind of run in a very, very short period of time. Hey, we need really good guidance. We need really good earnings for this next year to justify that high valuation. Remember, Wall Street loves to be irrational to both the upside, like we got at the end of last year, right? That was an irrational run there at the end, and the downside as well, like when Palantir turned a profit and then Wall Street just a short time later dumped the stock all the way back down to $7 again. That was incredible, but all it was a golden gift because I doubt we ever see $7 again unless something goes really, really, really wrong. Now, always keep in mind, Alex and the team over there are not trying to win the battle today and make traders happy or make Wall Street happy or anything else like that. If I'm being perfectly honest, I don't think they're concerned with any of this. If you did your due diligence on this management team, you know that is not where their focus lies at all. A lot of times, I'm not even sure that's even on their radar. So you cannot expect huge, incredible earnings calls if they're not gearing the business towards that in the first place. If they're not really gunning from that, then don't think that there's going to be some crazy earnings call. If they give us something really, really big and a really, really high number, for me, because I know they're conservative, because I know that's not really the game they're trying to play with Wall Street in general, that's a huge bullish sign, but I'm going to let the management team tell me that. I'm not going to project it out there otherwise. So what am I doing personally? Let me be clear and upfront with this fact once again, because I'm hearing it a little bit all over again. You cannot time the market, guys. Nobody can time the market. And I'm still seeing folks telling me exactly what's going to happen in the earnings call, or other folks out there making 337 predictions a day on stocks and what DeepSeek means to AI and what it means to Palantir, or what the new administration is doing this, so it means that to Palantir, and all kinds of other ridiculous stuff like that. I have no idea, honestly, how anyone can keep up with it all, given the fact that it's all guesswork, and guesswork never works out over the long run. It just doesn't. We need to learn that lesson here as retail investors, that nobody knows where the market is going in the short term like that. If you're a long-term investor like I am, what happens tomorrow or on the earnings call or anything else like that is not really our concern, since nobody knows what will happen with any degree of accuracy. So what is the point in making short-term price stock predictions? I mean, if Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch, and all the greats say that you can't do it, it's impossible, why would I even bother trying to do that? I don't know why other people do it either. So that means if you're worried about what Palantir will do tomorrow, or finding the next entry point or the next exit point, or guessing stock price movements based on what the Fed says or the government, or buying and selling based upon this indicator and that indicator, or anything else like that, then you are simply short-term speculating or trying to time the market. I mean, phrase it however you want, guys, but that is what you are doing in the end, and nobody can do it over the long run with any accuracy. But, hey, if you want to try that, good luck, go for it. There's example after example after example of, very, very famous people right here just on YouTube that have tried all that sort of games, and it just hasn't worked out well over the long run. But that is also why having your plan set before the earnings call is key. And I know many of you guys hate that I say it all the time, but planning and having price targets is key to investing. So I am simply sitting back and watching the numbers, and then watching what Wall Street does. But more importantly, I'm looking at that guidance. So I know exactly what Palantir's valuation is. And until I have this year's numbers, I am relying on last year's numbers, which unfortunately scream overvalued. However, guys, slow down before going down there and blasting me. I'm sorry, that's the truth. You guys get the truth without the hype here. That's the truth. But Palantir has already hinted at things such as unlimited demand, the growth rate accelerating again, and other positive things that tell me last year's guidance is obviously outdated. But you guys know I hate to speculate. I just hate it. So I'm not going to sit around here and create pretty little charts and pretty little graphs and then use it to make it seem like I have some magical way of, coming up with a number that I think it's going to go to. That is just pure speculation, and I'm not into that at all, because that's fool's gold. And of course, in the end, it's just pure speculation. And I just can't do that, guys. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to use what Alex and team tells me to create my new valuation, which I suspect is going to be a lot higher than its current valuation, obviously. And then if the earnings call is good, but people freak out because Alex tapped the table 4 times in 5 seconds and cut off an analyst 1 time, and then, I don't know, combed his hair 3 times and didn't wear a white t-shirt this time. That's one that we always watch for there in the group, what t-shirt he's wearing. All of a sudden that means Palantir is doomed and it's a terrible company and the price falls significantly. Well, based upon that valuation and my price target, I might very well be a buyer once again, because I have cash ready to deploy, because I don't care about the short-term price action. I care about how the business is performing. I mean, what, suddenly the price goes down and Palantir isn't performing as a business and is just a terrible company? I mean, that kind of seems like what a lot of people feel. They feel their company is performing based upon stock price, not based upon the fundamentals underneath. You got to kind of keep in mind that every stock gets decoupled from the underlying fundamentals of the company from time to time. And those are some of the best times to buy those stocks, of course, unless it decouples to the upside, then that's some of the best times to stay away from buying those stocks. And if Wall Street wants to give me Palantir on a significant discount based upon valuation, I will take it every single time. Holding and looking to add at your price target when short-term issues arise, like an earnings call that is great, but the stock sells off anyways, is the perfect time I like to add. So make sure you have your price targets ready so you can execute if they hit. And if you don't know how to do evaluation on the price targets and you want myself and a group of 6, 7, and 8-figure investors helping you out with that, make sure you take advantage of the earnings flash sale that's getting ready to end soon, where we do all that for you. 5 free courses. We got free coaching. We got live Q&As. We're jumping on these earnings calls live. I put out, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 videos a week just exclusively there in the group, and so much more. Make sure you check out the pinned comment, see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.